Was there a peace deal? Oh, I didn't see it. Sorry. Also, Google released real accounting data from YouTube recently. It is making a lot of money from it. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. The fact that YouTube kept on displaying that they were making no money, despite the fact that they have a... I think it's 40-60 revenue share. Might even be 50-50. Actually, I think it's 45-55. Like all adverts. So whenever you watch an advert on my channel, for example, 45% of the revenue from that goes to YouTube. And considering how many adverts they're showing, especially now they're taking the complete piss and showing 2 adverts at a time, that's worse than television. Why would you watch 2 adverts in a row? And then adverts every 3 minutes or something ridiculous. Ah, not happy with YouTube at the moment at all. Competing with YouTube's back catalogue would be a challenge. I don't think you really need to. Because YouTube, you don't really get people viewing old videos. Just doesn't happen. With 1 or 2 exceptions. Like tutorials do. But like just gameplay videos, for example. I mean, I get it. I'm not the regular YouTuber in YouTube content. Although gaming did dominate YouTube about 5 years ago. Yeah. New content. It'll get viewed in the first week and then never again. Two, I get like 5 for watching the 30-minute video. Yeah, I don't control the monetization for that. I just automate it. But you should get 2 when you first watch the video. I think. Manually place my adverts to avoid that. Oh, battle. 127,000 versus 80,000. Reinforcements arrived just in time. 150,000 more coming in. We've got a bunch of Hindustan also reacting to the battle, but the Timurids just don't have the forces on the field right now. Hindustan is at a -1, 115% discipline against 129, plus Hindustan's 55% manpower infantry combat, and you can see the loss difference here. Hindustan losing like 700 men. Timurids there were losing like 6 grand. They're just taking so many casualties in relation because they just cannot compete with that discipline and that combat quality. So even though the Timurids do have more morale, it's just the quality is just so different. And Hindustan do have a bunch more troops coming in. Timurids are not going to have the manpower to replace the losses after this fight. And at this point, it becomes a war of attrition in terms of how much money can you throw at the problem. And are the Timurids going to try to bring in more? I mean, one thing that the Timurids do still have going for them is there's a lot of mountain forts out here. And they can do a lot of damage in terms of just attrition, because we've seen how Hindustan tries to siege stuff. And I think the damage that they will need to do against Hindustan is just let them siege stuff for as long as possible. Like, trying to interrupt this siege while it's a -14%, probably a bit too early. And Hindustan, for that point, has actually lost 181,000 men to attrition alone. But they only actually lost about 13,000 men in that fight. Whereas the Timurids lost 125,000. So the Timurids are losing men in the battles, whereas the Hindustans are losing their men in the sieges. Oh, and Russia has just declared war on the Timurids. As have Iran. Now this is game over for the Timurids, which is a real shame. Like, the Timurids have really been putting up a hell of a fight throughout this entire system, but everyone's seen the Timurids are so weakened by the oncoming Hindustan threat. And the vultures are circling. Like, Russia is not taking any risks. They're coming in with a full set of forces. They know that Timurids still have a couple of teeth, but many of their teeth are also missing. Spat out in the mountains of Afghanistan. And you wanted to see Persia. Well, I think ever since they formed Afghanistan, that wasn't going to happen. Because I believe that they needed to directly own those territories as opposed to having a client own them. And they owned both of the territories they needed for it. They owned Doba, which is here. And they owned Delhi, which is now Hindustani. Oh, Hindustan pieced out Afghanistan, I guess. Yeah, they did. That definitely needs to be a rule. We definitely need to make a ruling that you cannot declare war on vassals. You have to declare war on the overlord. It just breaks the game otherwise. Otherwise, we'll enforce a truce. Okay, so Timurids are now out of manpower. They're still 100,000 men short. They should really be murking up if they intend to fight this. I'm not sure that they do. Iran's offering a peace deal, taking everything. Yeah, they would be silly to accept that. The one they should be giving the land to would be Hindustan. Hindustan's actually fought for it. These guys have done nothing. Maybe, if Timurids wanted to be smart, they do a peace deal which is more generous to Hindustan than Hindustan may expect, and say to Hindustan, I want you to guarantee my safety against Iran and Russia. That could be one way of spinning this peace deal. Because I don't think it's going to be in Hindustan's interest to let Iran and Russia run away with taking big chunks of Timurids. In fact, it would be bad for them, because Hindustan is now the one that I would say is on the chopping block. Iran has been for a while, and I'm still amazed that Russia and Iran have not gone to war. It is definitely not in Iran's interests. Iran is now looking a little bit isolated. Hindustan is looking very isolated. Timurids were an easy target in this area. Well, not an easy target. They were the only target in this area. After the humiliation of the Ottomans and the weakening of the Mamelukes. And they're now stuck between Hindustan, Revolutionary Russia and Iran. Like, Timurids are just in a bad spot. They can still inflict casualties, but it's going to be a losing fight. Oops. Getting messages. Sorry about that. The Panama Canal has been built. So let's go take a look at that. And there it is. Juicy. So Great Britain has finished the Panama Canal, and ships can now pass through Central America, rather shortening the duration it takes to reach the Far East, if you're going west. And also allowing nations like Texas and the United States to move ships around a lot easier. In fact, I would say the biggest beneficiary of this is Inca and Texas, probably mostly Texas. And it is actually Texas who took out Haiti. I did mean to double check that and see who gained, because it's either going to be Haiti or Britain. Sorry, it's either going to be Texas or Britain, but it was Texas.
Hello.
Son, hello. What's up with the Pope?
I'm apparently a great power now. Didn't realize it.
Oh, are you? So you are 7th.
Yeah. So that whole getting the Ivory Coast helped me bump up enough, and I've been deving it up a bit as well.
Yeah, I saw that you exploited the massive hole in Congo's defences.
Yeah, though I did make it a bit poorly in the sense of handling my own manpower. I stood a bit too long in Ceylon and Grain Coast, so when I started war I had 40k instead of 140. So.
Oops.
Yeah, so as soon as the army came down there, I split them immediately because that was just bad.
Yeah, I hadn't realised the attrition problems were that bad. Okay, that's interesting. But yeah,
sorry.
But I was just going to say, when the Congo fought against Tunis, their northern border was completely unfortified, so they started building forts there. I was like, you got to fortify everything. This is just leaving a gap for somebody else. And you just completely exploited that, because he just didn't build any forts in the south either.
Yeah. I tried before talking like, hey, could I maybe just buy all of this land, maybe do some subs for the land or something, and he said he was going to fight any European who wanted to get it. and he said a bit ironically, like, yeah, I fortified the entire coast, and I'm looked at the fort map like, no, you haven't.
No, you really haven't.
But I'm not going to tell you.
If by fortified he meant parked some soldiers there, yeah, it's not the same thing.
Yeah. And, I mean, Congo, in terms of how he used the Fog of War and everything, like, he played very good, but he's still an inefficient tech group, so he simply have worse units. Like, I had, like, 25,000 versus 75, still won.
Well, you do also have a pretty strong army, like an unusually strong papal army.
Yeah, it's been quite fun. I've even managed to get the policy that gives my leaders another 5 pip. So all my leaders now are guaranteed to have at least. Pretty silly at this point of the game.
I haven't actually looked at your generals. What are they like? 5-4-3, 4-3, 5-3.
No.
Okay.
That's because my army tradition is a bit lacking.
Yes. The theocracies are getting a massive boost in the next update. Like their governments, they're actually going the full number of tiers for the government rather than just 5. Because like the monarchies and the republics have 10 tiers, you have half of that. Well, you're getting the other 5 now.
Yeah, that would be really powerful. But at the same time, some of the like the categories that I have are also extremely powerful. Like 10% for morale, armies, the whole extra land leader 5 pip, as well as I mean there are some and the free policies.
Sorry, I need to go and comment on this because Prussia has just declared war on Texas.
Oh, alright. See ya.
Thanks. Alright, so I just noticed that Prussia has declared war on Texas for Nicaragua. So it looks like Texas actually has a couple of territories down here in Central America, and they are going after the Incas. I think that's Inca. Yeah, that's Inca. And Texas. So Prussia is going for the Americas, of all places. I did not see this coming, no. I think most of the Timurids' problems that they were making, they got on fine with Hindustan, then stole Hindustan's trade money, and then they were always going to die. I think the problem was that Delhi was an extremely effective buffer between Hindustan and Timurids, and as soon as Delhi went, Timurids realized, I probably could expand into Timurids now.
Alright, are we going past 10?
Yeah, we'll say 1:15.
Okay.
Thank you. Prussia being smart in evacuating Europe before Russia show up. Yeah, Prussia and Russia are allied. Is that still allowed? Yes, because Iran are still technically ahead of Prussia. But anyway, the Prussian forces are here against the Incas, so let's take a look at what they are up against. It is Prussia versus Texas, Inca, and Yuran. It's 280,000 versus 541,000 infantry. 70,000 artillery against 197,000. Prussia has a navy, though actually the combined naval power of these guys is more, but it's Texas and Inca, and they may not be working that well together. We do have a very large Prussian fleet here. And Prussia could probably call in some of their buddies if they absolutely needed to. Though this does look like just a pure imperialist colonization war. Yeah, they could call in the Netherlands if they needed to open up access to Central America. But this was unexpected. I didn't think that Prussia would try to do this. Although, looking at how much they fortified this area, and actually if we go to the fort map mode, where I can never remember where they are... It's completely guarded. Every single province here is level 8 forts. I mean, Prussia is going to take a while to break through this Incan one, but... Oh, wait, they're not fighting Panama. And then they'd need to get down to Darien, so I think they might just be taking this one to form a border with the Incas, and then their main source of expansion is going to be here to the north. I think they want to go after the Yucatan. This is the Yucatan, right? Pretty sure this is Yucatan. Oh my god, Prussia is the France of this area, invading the New World and then putting into power a nation of Russian. So instead of Maximilian von Habsburg, it's Maximilian Romanov. Oh, I like it. Has somebody else gone to war? I don't think so. Who's Tunis fighting? Tunis has joined Andalusia in fighting Hindustan. Andalusia has declared war on Hindustan for Banten, which I think is out here. Oops, that's Shan. Hindustan have got some troops moving in. Oh, there's the Hindustan Navy. So this could be an issue in terms of naval power, because Andalusia, and Tunis in particular, have actually built a fleet. So they should be able to wrestle control of the seas away from Hindustan and relieve some of the pressure on the Timurids. I mean, the thing that the Timurids do have in their favour is they've actually fortified very heavily. They have a lot of forts, and that's going to make themselves just difficult to conquer. Yes, they're up against a lot of forces, but they're going to make those who are attacking them really bleed for the privilege. And in that note, like, Russia's already lost 200,000 men. Hindustan has lost 350,000 men to attrition alone, not including battles. So what's happening over here? I think that this is going to be the more interesting war, because Texas has great military quality, but Prussia is Prussia. Enough said. So it's going to be interesting to see how the modern Prussians fight, because we haven't really seen the Prussians tested. They haven't gotten involved in any big wars, like I said, since the Commonwealth-Russian one. Yes, they were in the Russian-Austrian, or Russian-Swedish? Russian-Austrian, I think it was. More recent war. But I don't remember them being that big a factor. This could just be faulty memory on my side. I don't know why. I remember in the last couple of multiplayers being particularly unkind to the Prussian players, but they always seem to be remarkably passive. So I'm pleased to be seeing a Prussia actually doing something. Timur pieced out the wrong enemy. Should have pieced out Hindustan and Russia. He could take Iran or make a fight of it. Yeah, I think he was just scared of how big Iran is looking, even though Iran's armies aren't particularly impressive. And also I think that Iran was just doing this as a play, so he probably felt like he could piece them out for the least, and then focus on these two. Like, Iran was purely being a vulture there. They were completely circling because they saw an opportunity. Opportunistic, that's the word. Hindustan is renting out a single Austrian. Keeping an eye on Belaton. Hindustan made it clear that they were willing to finance some of the Austrian forces, keeping a very, very close eye on Belaton. But Prussia has not seen any of the Texans yet. And they are losing a lot of manpower. Like, this is nasty territory to be advancing through. It's all jungle. And they're doing it with 50,000 man stacks. So Texas is doing the right thing here. Like, Prussia's already lost 48,000 men. And Prussia does not have the manpower recovery that some of the other nations do. The way to beat Prussia is to attrition them. Don't fight them. You have no reason to fight them. And they're going to be taking a lot of attrition here. I'm sure that Texas is wishing they'd built a couple more forts down there in the south, but they, like me, probably did not see this coming. Oh, Inca have come. So the Inca are attacking. They've got 100,000 men against 38,000. The Inca have taken a -2, 121 discipline against 135. Inca do have a 10% combat ability versus Prussia's whatever it was, but Inca have won that first engagement. Have Prussia militarized? They might have, but they are probably already losing it. But the Prussians to the north don't seem in the least bit bemused and are continuing their relentless move north. Meanwhile, the Incas have come in with a lot of the troops and they have lifted the siege here. But these are level 8 forts. They are going to take some sieging. And just like the sieges, or just like the territory that Prussia is just pushing through right now, it's all jungle. So they do have a bit of time to react. But the Incas do have a full complement of artillery. They do have the Age of Revolution's ability for artillery to count for more. Artillery bonus versus forts +3. So these sieges are going to be a bit quicker than the Prussians may otherwise expect. Meanwhile, Texas is starting to move a little bit. They've seen the choke point here. It's just 2 provinces. They can hold that. Although Mix is rather weaker than Tehuantepec. And actually, in this instance, if you wanted to be particularly smart, put a level 8 fort in Mix and a level 6 in Tehuantepec. And psychologically, players are more likely to go for the level 6 fort just because it's a lower level. But that might actually force them to fight in the jungle. Worth a try. Need to turn Bellaton into a Mordred Viking community meme. How would we represent that? I don't know. I think that might be a relatively uniquely this multiplayer game thing. If you can think of a way that that could be expanded upon, then let me know. Prussia have not got their ability. Oh wait, that's Russia. They still don't have their fire damage received. They went for the improved artillery range. They took the artillery damage from back row instead of discipline. Oops. I mean, it's not going to be that long until they can get the next one. And they are going to be generating a fair number of splendor. And it's a Prussian golden era. So Prussia are going all in, just not against Russia. Meanwhile, Timurids are slowly but surely being eaten up by the Russians, but the Andalusian forces have arrived. Though they are sitting here taking attrition right now, which is probably not that smart. Hindustan has a lot of... Oh no, that's the wrong way around. Yeah, see, they've not lost a lot of war score against the Russians, but they have lost a fair amount against Hindustan. And Hindustan could start stab hitting if they wanted, though they wouldn't be able to take very much if they did. Hindustan, meanwhile, are going down in manpower. Russia also dropping in manpower because of the Russian doom stacks of sieging death. They're just taking so much attrition. 300,000 men lost to attrition now. And Hindustan's lost 440,000. Like, I'm often impressed by the economic strength of those two players, but militarily, I always question their sieging. Got to give credit to the Timmy for at least putting up a fight. I mean, Timurids have built their country to be a death trap to siege. They have put in a lot of forts, and they've invested a lot of money into developing those fortifications. And they are now paying the price. I mean, their enemies are now paying the price. The Timurids have been very game all game. Yeah, like, I liked the Timurid fighting spirit. That it's been there all along. The Timurids and the Pope are probably the two nations I've enjoyed the most. Just because... gung-ho is the wrong word. They've just been up for it. Like, you can often just, like, see a player's playing spirit come through, and I've really liked the Papal States and I've really liked the Timurids.